Alright, what's going on, everybody? So if you're wondering what top 5 exotics you should get from the exotic archive in Destiny 2 in Season of the Plunder, I'm going to get right into that. I'm trying to keep this video as short as possible. Just going to try to explain the exotics and why I chose them. So starting off under Red War exotics, this isn't in any order, by the way, at all. It's going to start off with Outbreak Perfected. Now, why Outbreak Perfected? Because it's really good damage. As you can see, day 1, Vow. It was really handy for Caretaker, and just in general, Outbreak Perfected is really good. If you run out of ammo in your heavy or special, Outbreak Perfected can give you that last bit of damage that you need in order to kill a boss. It also is really good for ad clear. When you kill an enemy, you get the nanite swarms that go around enemies, and it's just overall a really good exotic. And if you are looking for a good exotic that's good for ad clear and pretty decent for DPS, Outbreak Perfected is a really good option. And that's going to be it from Red War Exotics. You could argue that Sleeper Stimulant is a really good one as well. That would be like number 6, honestly. But there's so many really good linear fusion rifles that you can get in the game. Like Storm Chaser, the Tape-In, that's basically free to craft, honestly. Triple Tap Firing Line, even Threaded Needle. But there's a ton of them like Cataclysmic, stuff like that. But Sleeper's good if you don't have a good linear fusion yet and you want to get Sleeper just to have one. Sleeper could be the play, but I don't know. There's other exotics that you should get because there's other linears that don't take up your exotic slot that are just better in my opinion. And under Forsaken, we're going to have Monarch next on our list. Now, Monarch is really good for high-end activities like GMs and Lost Sectors for Legend and Master. If you're even like 30 underpower, which is basically what GMs are, Monarch still does a ton of damage, not only because the poison damage, but even when you hit a crit, it does a lot. And it also has the intrinsic overload perk on it, so you don't even need to put an overload bow mod on if it isn't available the season that you're playing. But Lone Monarch's really good. It also helps keep in those overload captains that teleport like crazy in one spot, because that poison damage will keep them in that one position. So if you don't shoot the overload, it will teleport, but that poison damage gives you that little bit of time frame to make it so it doesn't teleport. Overall, a really good exotic for PvE and PvP especially. I know it did get nerfed a little bit in PvP from what I remember, but it's still disgusting in PvP anyway. So overall, a really good exotic for both game modes. Definitely consider picking that up if you want a good bow for high-end content. And the next exotic on our list is going to be Izanagi's Burden. This is really good paired with a bait and switch, linear fusion, or even rockets, or any linear fusion in general. What you do is you shoot a burden shot, switch to your rocket or linear fusion rifle after you reload. Burden, use that clip of whatever weapon you're using. So let's say, for example, you're using a linear fusion rifle. You shoot your burden, hold your reload key so it makes it that hard-hitting honed edge shot, which hits for like over 100,000 usually, especially with div. It's disgusting. So you shoot that shot, reload, then you'll switch to your linear fusion rifle or a rocket, shoot it. If you have autoloading on it, switch back to your burden. Overall, really good for damage. I'll include a couple clips of me using it while I'm talking so you can see what I'm talking about if it doesn't make sense. That way you can kind of see how good it really is. But Izanagi's Burden has always been one of the top exotics for DPS in the game, especially with Barrier. Sniper Rifle being a perk this season. You could use this in GMs as well. And Izanagi's Burden makes it really easy to kill those Barrier champions, so take advantage of that. Definitely pick up Izanagi's Burden. I'd say get that as like the second exotic out of this list. I'd list it at number 2. The next exotic I'm going to talk about is Lumina. Now you might be saying, Lumina? All you can do is heal people. Well, the noble rounds actually give you a 35% damage buff. So what you do is you just go around, kill some enemies, and when you kill those enemies, you can get those noble rounds. And what you do with those noble rounds after you pick them up from killing the enemy is when you go to do damage, everyone gets in a well or whatever. And what you can actually do, even in a well, you shoot your teammates with the noble rounds, and it gives them a 35% damage buff. It doesn't stack with the damage buff in the well, it overrides it. So I think with a well, you get like, what, 25% damage buff or something like that. But with noble rounds, you get a 35% damage buff. So Lumina is a really good pickup, especially with linear fusions being so good this season. You don't even need your kinetic slot, honestly, unless you want to pair Burden with it or with a Horde, which we'll talk about later. But Lumina is really good this season. Definitely consider picking this up. This is a S tier exotic this season. It probably always has been. Everyone has slept on the noble rounds just because But I think people are finally realizing we've seen it a lot recently in master raids and day one raids and stuff like that. The double rounds are really handy, so definitely consider picking up Lumina if you want to, give your teammates that extra damage as well as, just for raids. It's a good exotic to have, especially for those noble rounds. And next on our list, I think our final exotic that we'll talk about is going to be Wither Horde. Now, Wither Horde, in my opinion, is the best exotic that you can get from the archive. I might be biased, honestly, but I love Wither Horde. It is really good. What you could do is when you shoot this weapon, it makes a blight. And what you can do is you shoot a blight onto a boss, and you switch to your linear fusion rifle, and that blight will keep doing damage over time. So the key is you shoot a blight onto a boss, then you switch to your heavy, like a linear fusion, which is meta right now, obviously. So I'm going to talk about linear fusions a lot. But you switch to that linear fusion rifle, while that Wither Horde ticks damage, and you'll see it ticking damage. And once it stops, you want to switch back to your Wither Horde and shoot another blight. And what's also nice is the catalyst gives it increased handling and auto-loading holster, so you don't have to worry about reloading your Wither Horde after you shoot that first shot. So basically, shoot a Wither Horde, do damage with your linear fusion rifle, and that's it. It's one of the best exotics, not only for DPS, but also for ad clear. You can drop a blight in front of like a doorway where enemies are spawning out of, and most of the time it will clear the ads. And in high-end content, even, it will make them like one shot or half health. It will just help a lot with ad clear and, keeping the encounter not as flooded with ads. But overall, a really good exotic. I'd put this as your #1 must-have out of all of them. You could argue that there's other exotics in here that are better than the ones that I chose, but these are just the ones that I think are really good. Legend of Acreus got a buff. That's good as well, honestly. Ace of Spades, good for PvP. Last Word, good for Crucible. Thorn, good for Crucible and PvE for ad clear with the necrotic grips. But those are the main 5 I really wanted to focus on and put as a priority. Maybe I'll make a video on every exotic and kind of rank them. If that's a video you want to see, let me know. This video has been kind of long, so I'm going to end it here. If it did help, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you all in the next one, alright? Peace.